Good evening. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. I'm your host, Black Bart from the Double Screw You Ranch. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't see who's here, but Kathy's going to help me with that and get my cigar and my glasses so I can see what's going on here. Jesus. Good evening, everybody. Kelly Patterson. Heard Sean Connery died today. Yeah, I heard that too. That's too bad. He was one of my favorites. In fact, I ran down to Walmart and bought all his James Bond movies. They were all together in a set, and I bought them all. So, yeah, too bad. 90 years old. 90 years old. Had an amazing career. So who all else is here? Chris Bingsley. Happy Halloween, Dave and family. Happy Halloween to you, Chris. Trucker Hershey, how are you doing? Igor Mailman, good to see you. Tommy Purple, howdy, how are you, Tommy? I saw Kelly Patterson. Where are they? There's Kelly. Howdy from Myrtle Point, Oregon. Man, it's pretty out there.
Jamie Godwin?
Where's Jamie at? My thing doesn't scroll down fast enough here. I'm working on it. Wheels, good evening. Jamie Godwin. Is that a prediction, Jamie? Trump for 2020? God, we'll know soon enough, I guess. It's going to be a tough call. Fred Besmer's here. Hey, Fred, how are you doing? Shannon's here? Excellent. Greg Gill, Grilled Mortal. Always something amusing out of him. How are you? Doc Dewey, hello from Werner. Wheels, how are you doing there, Shannon? Danny Moore, good day, sir. Greg Folson, how are you, sir, and your family? We're doing good, Greg. How are you? William Carey, greetings from Kilgore, Texas. It's been 7 out the side on listening. How are you doing? I haven't chatted with you for a little while, William. I hope all's well. Rick Rodriguez, greetings from Virginia. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Rick? So, everyone ready for Halloween? Got the candies all stacked up by the front door? We're not doing the Halloween thing. We didn't know. Our whole town is just kind of shut down from this COVID thing. Not a case of it here, but lots of rules. So we decided not to do Halloween this year, just to keep the kids extra safe if we possibly can. But lots of stuff going on. We had an interesting day today. We interviewed a guy for a clip that we're going to do, a video, a real ice road trucker, not one of those TV stars, but a real guy that actually did this without being chased by a camera crew. So he's got some pretty interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to posting that video, or the gang here will be posting that video. That should be really good to watch. We've got our video out Friday on the 379 Pete. Hope you guys all enjoyed that all right. I enjoyed doing it anyway. And what else have we got going on? I after doing that 379 video too, I wanted to ask you guys, out of the 359, the 379, the W900A, or the B, which one of those is your absolute favorite? I kind of lead towards the 900A as being my all-time favorite truck, but I'd like to hear what your guys' choice is on that. What did Shannon just say? Something. I've lost it now. This thing scrolls too fast. Greetings from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. Bradley Weaver. Hey, Bradley, how are you doing?
W9.
Someone said W9? Yeah, they're a good truck too. Hard to call it between them. Fred's headed for Phoenix. Huh. Well, I bet it's nicer down there than up here right now. It's all right up here. It's cold and clear, but no snow yet anyway. But it was cool this morning. Car was all frosted over.
Okay, you can start asking for questions.
All right, so how about my W900, 379, 359 question? Which one? Here's Igor. Loves the 379. Doc Dewey, what do you think about the 990? I'm not that thrilled with the 990. I think it kind of looks like a big international. one of the big old TransStar conventionals. You know, you look at it in profile, the bunk and the front grille, it looks like an International. I like the 900 better. I prefer the 379 and the 389. Robert Daniel. Yeah, nice trucks. Elliot likes the 379. W9, I'm too tall for the 379 container grille. You're too tall. For, like roof height inside the cab, you mean container grille? That's an interesting comment. Greg likes the W9. Yeah, tough to choose one, Devin. Yeah, I know. It is. Yeah, it is a tough call. But like back in 1981, right around there, I was a W900A fan. You need a football field to turn the thing around. But other than that, they were a beautiful truck. Love the big hood. Need 2 men and a boy just to tilt it. Beautiful truck though. 359 with a Corvette dash. Amos. Yeah, a lot of the 359 guys were just sold on that dash. That was what made the truck for a lot of those guys. That Corvette dash. What he's talking about there is like the double hump on the top of the dash over the gauges there, just like a Corvette used to have. Dream truck is a 379 or a W9. Either would make a great partner for maybe dreaming. Yeah, you couldn't go wrong either way.
Is there a special guest here tonight?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Live. We have the Lettuce King.
The Lettuce King is here. Let the bells ring out and the banners fly. Cute. Oh, he likes my outfit. That's kind of a long story, but at the end of the day, the guy that donated the most last stream got to choose my Halloween outfit, and here I am. Black Bart from the Double Screw You Ranch. Do you like it there, Lettuce King?
Chad, I know you can't see it, but he's got heels underneath that.
I got 4-inch heels. I can't walk.
Swing your boots up.
Oh, please don't.
Oh, about crippled from that.
All this all with your knees.
So where are we? Where'd the Lettuce King go? What do you got to say for yourself? We had a Lettuce King question come up today in the thing that we were doing. I can't think of what it was now, but it'll come to me. Lettuce King, woohoo! The king is here. That's from Kathy.
Come on, let's go.
Okay.
Which new truck would you buy today, Dave, and what specs?
Which new? I'd go a glider kit if I possibly could. I guess I'd go with the 389 glider if I was buying new. And if I was buying new, I don't know. I'd look at the W9 again, only with a big bunk this time, just because I'm getting old and I need more room to rumble around in. So I might go with the W9 with the studio sleeper. It's a tough call. I'd have to spec them both and price it. I like the 389, but you got to yank off those headlights. Other than that, but I prefer the glider just for no emissions stuff, of course. But yeah, I'd have to price it all out. I'd have to see. I could go with either one, frankly. I don't know. Lettuce King, what would you choose? No W9 anymore, Lettuce King. No, although I had a pretty nice W9 when you and I met, if you'll recall. But yeah, I gotta say I like the 379 better than that one, and I like the switch from Cummins to Cat, which the Lettuce King was instrumental in convincing me on that too. It was a good choice. So instrumental.
He plays an instrument.
I only play the radio. He plays instruments. I can only play the radio. Lettuce King says 359 all the way. Really? Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. Lettuce King is a true legend from Chris Billingsley. Yes, he kind of is. And he'll be roaming the highways in a state near you soon.
He says never late with a V8. That's Piper.
Oh yeah. Look for the cars with the flashing lights on the roof chasing them. Never late with a V8. 379, 389, and other, you name it, all hard for a tall guy to get into the sleeper. Yeah. Craig Fulton. Yeah, I guess that's so. Well, the studio sleeper Kenmore should be good for you. Yeah, but the cab roof is low enough to whack your head though, probably. How tall are you? Craig Fulton, he's pro basketball player gone trucker here or something. But how tall are you, Greg? Chris Billingsley's in Arkansas. Grilled Mortal likes the K100. Yeah, there was a truck. There was a truck, and they were roomy inside too. Man, you could sleep 3 guys in those things. They were huge. Went across like on the doghouse, stretched back too. You know. No, I wouldn't. I said you could.
Doc, do any thoughts on a C18 cat?
Beautiful motor. Let us King, what do you think of the C18? I thought they were an amazing engine. But yeah, I love the C18. And I gather through some trickery you could order those from the factory in a truck if you knew what you were doing. I forget what the deal was. You had to order a heavy haul spec or some darn thing, but all sorts of guys knew how to trick that ordering system and could get big power like that. Not all sorts, a few guys. Greg Fulton says he's 6'2". Yeah, anything over 6 feet, you got to watch it. You don't whack your head getting into a truck anymore.
Travis King said big power.
Yeah, huge power to the C18. Would anybody know what kind of horse they did put out? I'd be curious to know that. Trucker Nation is 6'5". Wow, you're a big boy. Greetings from Rotterdam, Holland. Out here trucking. Well, my mom's people would be happy to hear from you there.
Dave, have you and the Lettuce King ever delivered anywhere in Arkansas?
I haven't delivered anywhere in Arkansas. Lettuce King, did you ever run down there? I know Richard is picked up there quite a bit, but I've never delivered there. Lettuce King, have you? No. Pardon me?
I do now. ARI trucks. What do you think? You mean the ones with the great big monster bunks? Kathy and I actually had one of those. Lettuce King, you'll remember that too, the purple one. And I found it too heavy. Like it was kind of neat and cool, but I found it a problem when you went to scale loads. That extra bunk really added a lot of weight, and that bugged me because I just like to load and go. I didn't like having to hang around for a light load of romaine or something like that. So I was annoyed by the weight of the thing. Terry J said 800 horse.
800 horse from the C18. That's trucking. I was just looking at a clip on a Volvo today. They're trying out with 770 horse. Not a Volvo. I'm sorry, a Scania with a new 770 horse V8 over in Europe. Big power though. Apparently this Scania motor is pretty good on fuel too. So that's something. I wonder if they got emission stuff over there. Do they have emission stuff over in Europe? I'd like to know that too. I imagine they do, but it's everywhere. Lettuce King. Muscle Shoals. Wheels is in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Is that on the water there, Wheels? Muscle Shoals. I think it is. I think they used to have offshore powerboat racing there. I like anything along the coast, the Gulf Coast. I like the seashore. Anything like that. The Scania probably has variable horsepower. Yeah, it may well. I just saw the clip today. I don't know anything about the motor yet. Just this guy had been test driving it for 6 months and he loved it. So interesting stuff. Interesting to hear from them. I'd like to try a Scania sometime. I think they're cool looking trucks.
We saw one at the Clifford Truck Show.
Yeah, but not like this big tall cab over they got over there now. Yeah, we did see one at Clifford, but not as cool as this one. Dave, they make onboard scales, some person. Yes, I've heard of those. I've never actually seen a set. I know some of the guys doing logging out in British Columbia and the West Coast run them on their trucks. I think that'd be a pretty handy setup to have. I don't imagine it's cheap. Container Guru hanging out in Fort Cooch.
I'm off the Tennessee River, wheels. Oh, yeah. Rolling Stones recorded Wild Horses at Muscle Shoals Studio. I didn't know that. The old Ford CEOs were tall. Yes, they were. And you remember they'd sit on airbags, so when you go to climb in one, the whole cab would almost kind of lean over and you feel like you were going to fall over backwards. They rode nice when you got in them, but climbing up into them was a wee bit scary. And they were tall even by cab over standards, but they were good trucks. Too bad they got rid of those things. Brian voted Trump today. We'll have to see how that all works out. Anyone looking for a job? Moving companies hiring new and experienced drivers. Trucker Herald, it's kind of a hit and miss these days as the economy is still trying to adjust itself to get back together. Freight rates are down. The drivers are starting to come back, but a lot of them haven't. So there are jobs available out there. They're always mega carrier jobs, but who's one of the favorites there? I saw the other day that Dupree Logistics, with tanker outfit, and they've got a yard in Texas, and they were looking for a couple of guys. If you're anywhere down in that area, Dupree Logistics is a very good outfit. I recommend them if you get on with them. Or GP Transco. I think GP Transco is always looking for good guys. They're based in Illinois, Central Illinois. So check out either one of those two, but you'd be all right there. Dave, would you say local trucking is getting good money than longer distance trucking? Greg Fulton, yes, absolutely I would. Absolutely. The mega carriers have pretty much captured or are in the middle of finishing off capturing the over-the-road market because it's simpler for them. They're geared that way. Straight loads, long distance, less babysitting of their new guys. So the experienced guys are pulling in their horns, going shorter distance, and working for carriers that pay by the hour or just pay better because they're not mega carriers. Mega carriers don't pay very well. And guys are getting off the over-the-road stuff because the freight's disappearing to the megas. They're working for private carriers or they're working by the hour. They're running dump trucks or whatever they're doing. But they're finding it more advantageous to be at home every night. They're not spending so much money on the road. They're they're sleeping in their own beds. It's working out probably better for everybody now because we used to do long haul because it made big money, and it doesn't make big money any longer. So money's the thing, especially if you've got a family. You might as well pull back your horns, work short, make more money, and be at home every night. There's no money hardly left in over the road at all unless you're working for a private carrier or something like that. I saw Pete here in Rotterdam. Our trucks look real small compared to the American trucks. Yeah. See, over here we've got huge expanses of road, and you need kind of a big truck to help chew up the miles. That's why the trucks are big over here. You could spend days in the saddle over here crossing the United States or Canada. So the roads tend to be bigger and wider, and so do the trucks. But they're nice to drive when they're big like that. Huh. Amos is asking the Lettuce King, Detroit or Cat? Oh, yes. I can pretty much tell you that.
I know what he'll say.
Yeah, I do too. Local pays so much better than even B local pays better. I make about 22 more a year than when I was over the road. That's from some person. So there's testimony right there. Yeah, it's just the money's closer to home anymore. Why not sleep in your own bed and make more money?
Kelsey Green, my boyfriend is a truck driver and is watching this live right now. He loves your channel. Can you give him a shout out, Dave? His name is Brad.
Brad, this is a shout out from us and from your girlfriend Kelsey. I hope you're staying safe. I hope all's going well. I hope you got a good place and you're parked in safe tonight. Enjoy the stream. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. If you're on the West Coast looking to run regional, mostly I-5, you can check checking 2 Chima freight lines out of Sumner, Washington. 1 year experience. Geez, I like running the West Coast, Kelly. I should go out there and apply to those guys. I liked running up and down the coast. Joe Wallace just got me a local job. Elliot, are you experienced enough to drive a set of sticks? Yeah, I could do it again. It's been years and years. They take a bit of a beating. I'm not smooth like the Lettuce King, but I'd get onto it again once I remembered the pattern. I went for a ride one time with a friend of ours called Chinaman. He was running a 6 and a 4, and he was letting me drive every once in a while. It's his truck, and every time I'd screw up his shift, he'd reach over and whack me with the tire bat. So it wasn't too long before I got the hang of that. We ran out as far as Wyoming, and then I bailed on him and went the other way. But it was fun running with him anyway. He was smooth with a set of sticks.
Greg says, do you think Caterpillars will get back to building engines for big rigs, or do you think they're done?
That's a really interesting question, because now they're starting to enforce emissions rules on yachts and on heavy moving equipment, which is what CAT fell back to when they got out of the trucking market. But if these emissions things are going to be required on all the engines for everything, CAT's going to have to figure out a way to play this game. And once they get the science down right, if they do, they may well get back into truck engines, because that was a big part of the market for them. So it might happen. With this emissions ruling stuff coming to boats and dozers and stuff like that, they may need to do it anyway, so they may as well get back into trucking. Well, it's a good question. Good question. Only time will tell.
Stevie says, getting my CDL at the age of 51. Excited to start a new career.
I guess so. And that's the nice thing about trucking too, is there's no set age you need to be. You can start any time from 18 till 88 if you want, and it's very good that way. The key, of course, is to get a good job, be with a good carrier that won't abuse you and take advantage of you and ask you to do stuff that you can't do. But yeah, trucking's great for that. And you see all sorts of guys stay in it longer than if they'd had an office job. You see guys out here still trucking 75, 80 years old sometimes, and still loving every day of it.
Did you see the Lettuce King's comment?
What did he have to say?
Danny Moore says, will there be any good news about brokers from the FMCSA?
Another good question. You see what a slow start that's gotten off to. They've just, they brought that up at the protest in Washington, I don't know when, that last year. And now the FMCSA is just kind of getting around to having maybe a quick look at it. And this came right from the president too, that he asked the FMCSA to check into that after listening to the truck drivers. And they're sure not rushing at it either. And in the meantime, the Load Broker Association has filed a petition against being investigated. And now the FMCSA is looking at that petition too and considering that. And I don't understand what the problem is and what's to consider. Everybody in this industry knows it's happening. So why not just jump right into it and start writing tickets? Because it's going on every day all over the place. And why even entertain the Load Broker Association saying, oh, well, we would like for you to never ask the rates again and to see the two rates, just trust us. Please just trust us, and that'll be the end of it. Yeah, hell with that. They've been screwing us for years. I'm not very sympathetic about the load brokers.
Mark wants to know, have you ever pulled heavy haul, and would you run ice road?
No and no. No, I never pulled heavy haul. Just a lot of the heavy haul stuff is oversized stuff, and I never wanted to get into that. I thought, I'll end up underneath a bridge stuck or something like that, and I'll lose my cool. And I tried the ice roads one. I went with a friend of mine years and years ago, and I just didn't care for it. I'm not a fellow that likes the cold, and it is some cold up there. So no, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I'd much rather hop across the islands on the road to Key West than I would hop across the frozen lakes up around Yellowknife.
Igor wants to know, did you ever test drive a Volvo?
I was in a Volvo once. I never got to drive it. I was in one once.
Tell them about her experience when they screwed us about
Oh.
test drive.
So last year, I decided that maybe I'd been a little too hard on the Volvo guys, and I'd make amends by going down south and test driving a Volvo to see, maybe there's something to them. Some guys like them, so I thought I'll go test drive one. So I called the nearest Volvo dealership, set up an appointment, told them who we were, what we wanted to do, come down, film the truck, talk about it, all the whole 9 yards. He was, oh yeah, come on down. So the morning we were leaving, we had the car all loaded up. We'd stop for coffee before leaving town to head down to see this Volvo, brand new Volvo, and I forget, top of the line, 860 or something like that. We called him up, said, yeah, we're just leaving now, we're on our way down. And he says, who's this? And he'd forgotten all about us. He was away that day, wasn't even going to be there. He had no truck for us to look at. And I thought, well, I tried. We tried. We tried to make amends and do something nice and like the Volvo, and then the salesman sunk us, so I'm back down to hating Volvos again. Lettuce King, I'd love to see you in a Volvo. I'd love to see you in a Volvo, too. I haven't seen you stretching one of those in your driveway. When can we count on that happening? But yeah. So, anyway, I shouldn't be so hard on Volvos. Volvo day cab is like driving an SUV. As long as you could wear a bag over your head, I guess, so nobody'd see you. Hey, there's Daniel Ford. How you doing? He's in Cheyenne. Daniel, this outfit's for you. I hope you're having a good laugh, because it's kind of uncomfortable, especially the boots and the tight pants. Oh, man. Where are we here? Anyone having after treatment inspected outside of California? Oh, is that happening now? I can almost see it, because more and more states are falling into this emissions program that CARB has introduced and like so much, and now you get certain states that are starting to stand by that. So, Lettuce King, no time soon. I expect he's saying you don't watch for him stretching a Volvo anytime. That'd be a goofy looking truck. Can you imagine a stretched Volvo? That makes me laugh just thinking about it. Kathy's asking him if he wants a Volvo t-shirt. God knows where we'd get one, but
What do you think of the legacy seats?
I haven't really traveled.
Say it.
What do I think of the legacy seats? I haven't really traveled any distance in those. I like the Bostrom. I'm very happy with those. And I sat in something the other day that was really I think it was a Sears seat or something like that. But yeah, it was hard as rock. But I like the Bostroms. I used to always buy Nationals, and then they were a good seat, and I tried the Bostroms, and they were better. And I've been riding in Bostroms ever since.
Lettuce King says probably a lazy boy.
Well, it's they're kind of like the transport version of the Lazy Boy. Hey, Jamie Godman just got into the Iowa 80. You miss that there, Lettuce King? They miss you. They miss you. Huh. That brings back memories. Sitting in there. The Lettuce King and I were sitting in there having lunch when I phoned home and found out my mom had passed away. That was a long time ago now.
They miss his credit card.
Yeah. Yeah, their sales have dropped ever since the Lettuce King quit going out there. That's the problem. Sales are down now. The Moon family even wanted to adopt the Lettuce King because he'd been so good to them, but I guess it's too late for that now. Yeah, Jamie says he loves the TA there. Yeah, it is a good truck stop. It really is. One of the best. You can always find a parking spot there. Yeah. What else have we got here? I've actually seen a stretched Volvo This is from Dude, Where's My Truck?
Howdy, partner.
Did it look as did it look as goofy as I can well imagine? People are already fleeing California. I heard a lot of people are leaving California just because the taxes are so damn high, and the crime's going through the roof because of the the Democratic government there. They're just letting people live on the streets. It's just destroying the state. Too bad, you know. It was the state to be at one time. What's the difference between the tandems or spreads on a reefer? Well, the tandems are like a closed wheel setup, usually like a 49 or 53 inch axle to axle setting, where the spreads usually start, depending on where you are, they usually start at about 10.1 or 10.2 and run all the way up to 12 feet apart. And those are, I really like the spread axle reefers. You can scale anything with those things, but they're not very good in a hard corner. that's where the tandem has an advantage. They turn a lot better.
Lewis asks, I'm thinking of changing careers from from teaching trucks to driving a truck. What advice do you have for someone that lives in New Jersey?
Really? My first piece of advice is move out of New Jersey. But other than that, I don't know. There's a lot of trucking in New Jersey, and there's a lot of good chemical tanker work in New Jersey that pays pretty well. And if you're a fella that wanted to stick fairly close to home, you could get on to one of those tanker outfits and just haul right out of the local refineries and go wherever you wanted to. But there's an awful lot of that work in Jersey, and it pays well. I think I'd check that out.
Ryan B asks, how do you feel about Autotrans versus an 18-speed?
I wouldn't even think twice about an Autotrans. I like the 18-speed. I think automatic transmissions are a mistake. I know the big carriers are all going to them, but I guess it's easier to get guys to drive them. But I don't care for them. They don't work well on snowy hills when you need to get traction. They shift when you don't want them to, and you can wipe your feet and spin out. I don't care for it myself. They're more expensive if you're building the truck. If you're speccing the truck, they're more expensive. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. Spread axle can help when you have a heavy truck, like when you're overweight. You mean, Jamie? Yeah, because you can kind of hide the weight better, roll across the scale, and hope no one's adding up the numbers. And we used to have like dump valves on the spread axle, so we could transfer a little bit of weight just by dumping the axle or loading the axle, depending on where it was on the scale, and you could kind of get them off just by playing with it a little. What was that guy's name that we knew there, Lettuce King, that got mixed up with the dump valve switches going across Montana? Rick. Do you remember him from Starvan? Got the switches all mixed up and loaded the axles instead of dumping the axles. That's still one of my favorite stories.
Paul Spencer, if I buy a 48-foot reefer spread axle trailer, will I still get good loads?
It's getting tougher and tougher to load a 48-footer. If you've got dedicated customers that's all the room they need is a 48, then you might be all right. But even my diehard friends have had to go to 53s, just because you never know when you're going to need a load, and the only thing you can find is for a 53-footer. And all the shippers now spec loads for 53-footers. If you can find some really heavy stuff that doesn't need a 53, you're all right with a 48. But it's getting harder and harder and harder to work a 48-footer anymore, which is a shame. I think 53s are too big, frankly. When they first came out, we were getting an extra $800, $1,000 on the back 5 feet. So when they first came out, it wasn't too bad. But then, of course, that only lasted about 6 months. And then the full load went from being a full 48 to a full 53, and I never paid any better after the first 6-8 months or so. So you were just pulling more freight for free.
Brian says he loves hauling dump loads because there's absolutely no bullcrap involved.
Yeah, dump loads are nice. Yep, there's and no waiting time. They just show you where to go, let her go, and then go get another one. Yeah, that's nice work if you can get it. I actually thought about doing some dump load work out of the salt docks up here where I live, but never really pursued it very hard. Grilled Mortal, refuse to drive auto. Hate those things. Yeah, you and me both. Kelly says he has no problem with traction control and shifting with autos. That used to be a problem with the older ones, but as the tech got better, it was less of a problem. So maybe they've improved into the point now where they're a lot better than they used to be. So that's good. I had a 48 spread sitting in the yard that hasn't pulled in years because of 53. Dude, where's my truck? Yeah, it's a shame. I thought the 53s were getting too big and out of control, but now the market, that's all they want to see is 53s. When you back into the dock, you better have a 53 these days. They kick you out. They don't want to see the 48s anymore. Is Florida better than Jersey, or what's the best state to work out of? That's a tough question, Louis. Florida's hard to get out of because everybody down there is all connected, and they just load their buddies. So Florida's tough. Jersey is probably easier to get freight out of than Florida. That's my opinion anyway. That's the way I found it. Daniel Ford likes the W9. He's a W9 fan. Some person says, salt, near your precious baby? Never. No. I wasn't going to use my truck to haul the salt. I was going to use their truck to haul the salt. I'll drive company and haul the salt, but you're right. No, I wouldn't do that with my truck. Salt Lake City is the best western state to work out of, Jamie. Yeah, Utah's nice. They got a lot of nice iron. They got a lot of freight. Yeah, I like it out there. Salt Lake City would probably be all right. I could go for that. Is buying a used truck for driving as an owner-operator for pulling normal trailers? It's a tough go anymore. It's a tough go with a used truck anymore, unless you're one hell of a mechanic. Because even the used trucks now are all electronically operated. You know, they've all got ECMs, and you can't repair that stuff on the side of the road. So tougher and tougher to work a used truck and fix it on your own. Grilled Mortal, the Hinos actually have a good auto, but they don't have a good truck. Florida's not good for freight, Trucker Herald. Yeah, I always struggled to get out of Florida. I never ran there consistently, and when you did get out of there, the pay wasn't very good with the load. So it paid all right going into Florida, but coming back out was cheap. I heard Tennessee is solid for freight. Well, Anthony Reeves, that could be. I always passed through Tennessee. I never loaded or unloaded there, but that could well be. Florida only has Tropicana loads leaving the state. That's pretty much right. Just anytime I ever did get out of there, that was what we were hauling, like frozen orange juice concentrate or something like that. But yeah, and all of that stuff is controlled by the big boys.
Trucker Herald says trucks older than 10 years will be banned in California soon.
Yeah, and there's always that, and it's amazing how many states now are kind of starting to line up to follow California with this process. And what was it? California wants all electric trucks by 2024 or something like that. I read that somewhere. Anyway, that might be the wrong year, but yeah, they're continuing to clamp down in California, which maybe that'll happen, but guys like me just said, well, that's fine. I really like going to California, but I'm not going anymore because I can't afford a $300,000 electric truck and still make money with it. So a lot of guys just bowed out. I was one of them. All my friends, same thing. We all bowed out. Yeah, William Carey says California and Texas are the best to get loads out. Yes, and that's absolutely true, and that's why we ran California. We could always get good paying produce loads out of there, and that's what we did, and we made serious money at it. But I forget what year it was. It was like 07, and they started to introduce emissions controls on trucks, and I was running the 04 that you've seen pictures of, and my reefer unit was the same year. They were wanting us to upgrade to new emission-friendly units. And back then, the new ones, the 7s and the 8s, were having all sorts of problems. I decided to keep my 04 and not run California anymore, and that's what I did the last couple of years. Just stayed out of California. I missed it, but business is business.
Remy says with these new trucks, you have to be tech savvy. You have to buy the manufacturer software.
Yeah, but that's just not my cup of tea. I guess you can spend all sorts of money buying the software. I imagine it's expensive, but yeah, you could go that route, but not worth it for the money you're going to put on the deck. Is it worth the expense to buy all that stuff and then try to figure out how to work it? Dead Space, did I ever haul a load into Mexico? The Lettuce King and I came really close one time. We dropped our trailers. We had trailers loaded for Mexico, and we dropped I forget the name of that town right on the border there. Lettuce King. No, it wasn't Tijuana. It was in Texas, and we had to hang out there and they weren't our trailers, thank God. But we hung out there for almost a week waiting for those trailers to come back from Mexico. Oh, I can't think of the name of the town now. It wasn't Laredo. Next one over. Lettuce King, remind me, where was that? But yeah, we sat almost a week waiting to get. Yeah, McAllen, that's right. And we waited almost a week to get the trailers back.
Lloyd Whitelow wants to know how you feel about the new DOT hours of regulation.
Not what I was hoping for. Not what I was hoping for. I don't really see that they make a whole lot of difference. I was looking for something that would allow you, if you ran out hours at the shipper or receiver, you got stuck in traffic and ran out hours, I was looking for some sort of an exemption that would allow you to get to a safe haven. Because I think that's where most of the trouble is. You get caught in traffic jams or at loading docks all the time and run out of hours. I think that's the problem they needed to solve. You know, I'm sure there's some flexibility in this split sleeper berth, and now they're talking about modifying it again. I wish they'd just make up their minds and do something practical, but they're not there yet. They may never get there at this pace, but I'm not holding out much hope for them.
Your horse needs a drink too.
Yeah, my horse needs a drink. Your insight on produce is spot on. Thank you. Christopher Van Dyke. Thank you. Another good Dutchman. Thank you, Christopher. Oh, man. It was going dry there. Here in Brazil, people love the 80s and the 90s trucks for local jobs, and they are totally mechanical and cheap to repair. Yeah, Igor, that's what we should have stuck to here, but California convinced us we had to do otherwise, and it's costing everybody money. But yeah, those trucks were way better for us. You could fix them yourself. Save thousands over the course of a career. We can use personal conveyance to park if we run out of time. But can you do that? Can you do that pulling a trailer, Jamie? I thought you could use personal conveyance, but you had to be bobtailing. And, you know, the rules are so vague. So let me know on that, Jamie. But I thought you had to be bobtailing to be able to do personal conveyance. Or you couldn't do it with a loaded trailer, for instance. I'd like to see them get rid of the 34 and the 70. Long as you got 10 minutes off, you're good. Minimum, you're good to go. Oh, yeah, you're 10 off minimum. I get it, yeah. I get it now, Kelly. You know, there was talk years ago, and this was brought in by CR England actually introduced this, and they said, you know, for guys with 15 years experience or more that have never had an accident, guys like that shouldn't even need to run a logbook. They're obviously, you know, have their own judgment and it's trustworthy. They've never had a wreck. Those guys shouldn't even be required to run logbooks. And I thought that was a great idea, but of course that didn't fly because it's not about safety, it's about revenue. And the states all want to make money from writing tickets. So, of course, that's not going to fly. If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
My mom would have liked that. Yeah. Yes, you can use personal conveyance while loaded. Is that right? Well, that's good to know. Well, I don't think Canada probably allows that. Maybe that's where I've heard it. But that's good to know, Kelly. That's a plus anyway. They're getting a little better. There's Jeffro thanking us for our videos. Thank you for saying so, Jeffro. Jeffro, the wannabe truck driver. Chris Billingsley, Dave, have you ever dumped a load? Yes. I actually took a summer off, parked my truck, and ran dump truck for a summer, and I enjoyed that. That was kind of nice. Easy, clean work. I had a couple of tree stump loads that got hung up in the box, and I had to go get a guy to rake them out for me. But yeah, other than that, I liked the dump truck work. Had to be careful, the ground was solid that you were on before you dumped. Any tips on how to cut down on smoking while driving, perhaps even quitting? I smoked briefly, and I found I had like a little squeeze ball in the truck. And every time I wanted a cigarette, I'd play with the squeeze ball instead, and that worked for me. And I wouldn't smoke inside the truck, so I'd stop to have a cigarette. So then, if I played with this ball, I didn't feel the need to stop. I made better time, and it gave me something to play with. For me, it was something to play with that was what I was hooked on. So the ball substituted the cigarettes, and that worked for me.
Dead Space wants to know, and this is a pretty relevant question at your age, have you ever fallen asleep at the wheel?
One time, and I wasn't old when it happened. I was like 21. And I'll never forget it. And we were running out west, and there were no logbooks back then, and we were just pushed all the time. And the money was good. And I came out of Calgary one morning, like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I remember getting sleepy, and I remember banging my head. I started to nod off, and I banged my head. Like I started to nod, and I banged my head on the window, on the side glass. And it woke me right up, and it scared me so bad to realize that was how close I had come. And I was hauling 2 tankers with fuel on the back. And I just pulled over, lay down right there, and slept till I felt good again. And that was the first and the last time that ever happened to me. And I refused to drive past a certain point after that. Just too dangerous.
Dave, not as good looking as the Lettuce King. That's from the Lettuce King.
Is that from the Lettuce King?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as good. Well, I don't think there's ever been any doubt of that. We all know all the women ran to you. It was never me. So yeah, I can't deny that. I was lucky to get the one I did. Jeffro, I drive for Jamie. I drive for Prime. They are a great company to get your CDL and experience. Well, that's good. Good. I think Prime is good for that. You've just got to stay away from their lease program.
Chef Hammersmith says, get a manual and you will find smoking is far less tempting.
That might be true. That might work. If your hand's always busy shifting gears.
Or 2 sticks.
Yeah, or 2 sticks even better. You don't even have time to hold the wheel. Just keep going. He did. Vaping works good for quitting smoking. You can control the amount of nicotine and generally only 2 ingredients in vape, compared to cigarettes, all 3,000 of which are carcinogenic. I don't know anything about vaping, Kelly. I don't know the first thing about it. I see a lot of guys doing it, though. Seems to generate an awful lot of smoke, I can say that. Why didn't I go back to driving dump trucks after the first time? Tommy Purple. Well, Tommy, I like driving the dump trucks, but the guy that owned them was a bit of an a-hole, so I'd had enough of him, and I went back to running the highway. I liked the work. I didn't like the boss. Don't lease from Prime, though, Kelly Patterson. Yeah, I think everybody should know that by now. You do not want to lease a truck from Prime, and they'll try to push that on you when you sign up there at first, but do not. You should get into any sort of a leasing program. I'm all against those anyway, but Prime has one of the worst. So yeah, stay away from leasing.
Shannon says they smoked for years and now I'm on oxygen.
Wow. And I gather, Shannon, that's because of the smoking. You attribute that to the smoking? That's got to be tough. That should make you want to quit right there. Is that testimony from Shannon, or not start in the first place? Yeah, I don't imagine that's any picnic being on oxygen. What's the worst crash you ever saw? You know, we were talking about that today earlier. In fact, I saw a team in a GMC Astro. I didn't see them go off the cliff. I saw the result, but a team back in the Rockies was just east of Golden, BC, running around the curves on the Kicking Horse Pass on the interstate or on the highway. They're 2-lane, no guardrail. They were going too fast. They lost their brakes. They went off the road, and they must have dropped about 1,000 feet without even hitting any trees before they went cab over face first into the Kicking Horse River, which there at that point it might be 12 feet deep, and so it just the whole truck just accordioned into the shallow river. Oh man, I think that's probably the worst one I ever saw. Sadly, when you do this for a living, you see all sorts of wrecks, but that one stands out in my mind. But can you imagine the ride those guys in the cab over had, dropping 1,000 feet, looking out the window, watching to see the earth and the river coming up at them? Nothing you could do about it. Talk about scary. Johnny, I'm new to your channel. I like your videos. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
John Hancock, have you ever lost your brakes going down a hill?
Not completely, but I've certainly had brake fade a couple of times, and nobody to blame but myself, because I left the top too fast and I experienced brake fade going down, and it was simply because I misgauged the hill, or misgauged how fast I should have left the top at. And I've had that a couple of times. It's a scary ride, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I wouldn't recommend. If you don't know the hill, start off really slow and just creep your way down. And don't make the mistake I did, was sit at the top, look at the hill and go, oh, that doesn't look too bad, and then leave too fast, because both times I got in trouble, that's exactly what I had done. And you don't want to make that mistake. Just crawl down and you'll always be safe. Just crawl down. Let the Jake walk you down.
Greg wants to know, Dave, have you ever been shut down by the DOT or given a ticket?
I've been stopped by the DOT many times. I can only recall one time I got shut down, and that was I was pulling a company trailer, and it had a brake chamber issue. That's the only time I can ever recall being shut down, and it goes on my record. It wasn't my trailer, but it went on my record. I was fairly unhappy. I left that company shortly afterwards. That's the problem when you're switching trailers, and that's what I had been doing for this company. You just, you get one trailer that you rely on, it's in good shape, then they make you drop it and pick up something else.
Do you think I should get my own authority being up here in Canada, or just better to lease on a company?
That's a good question. Before, I'd get my own authority and then find my own freight, because that may be, it's not that much to get your own authority. It's not that tricky, but you need your own customers. That's the secret. And once you get your own customers, then you can proceed from there. But there's virtually no money in being an owner operator up here in Canada anymore. So if you're up here and you want to make money with the truck, you need your own deal, because there's no money in it otherwise, unless you're a company guy.
Back in your day, what did you mostly haul? Were you an owner operator or a company driver?
I did everything. I was a company driver, I was an owner operator, and I was an independent. And at the end, when I was an independent, I was finding my own loads, owned the truck and trailer, and I just moved back and forth as we found the freight. Kathy found the freight. I drove the truck, and those were my best years of trucking. I ran out steady California. I had a steady customer in Toronto that would load me out of California. I'd go directly back to his dock every time, Kathy would find outbound freight for me for California. Those were my best days of trucking. I was hauling whatever I could find to put in the reefer to get me out to California, and then I would load produce back out of California.
First truck you owned?
The first truck I owned was a 1984 W900 Kenworth, and I owned that in partnership with a friend of mine, and I ended up buying him out of his share after a year or so. But that was the first one I ever owned. Did you ever haul soybeans or corn? No, I hauled corn in my reefer, but you're talking bulk, probably. So no, I never did that. I always wanted to try it. I like the look of those belly dump trailers, but there wasn't a whole lot of that in my neck of the woods, so I never did get to try that. A hot load will get cold real quick in a ditch. Maintenance bay. Yeah, truer words were never said. That is for sure. Thoughts on the KT Cummins? What happened to the big engines? David Ellefson. There's a guy, Jason Keeler in Pennsylvania, and look on YouTube for him. He's still building those KT Cummins engines and putting them in old Kenworths. Those were amazing engines and beautiful trucks. And if I had all the money in the world, I'd go down to see Jason Keeler and buy one of those Kenworths. They were amazing engines, great engines. What's the best spec for a truck when trying to go uphill faster than 40 miles an hour? It's Paul Spencer. All in the tranny and the rears that you spec. If you run, I don't know, like 411s or 390 rear ends and an 18 speed and pick your own gears, you'll go up the hill pretty quick.
Cummins X15.
Cummins X15. The newer Cummins have emissions issues. But you know what? I think they all do pretty much. But Cummins has been suffering a lot with their emissions and their sensors. Like I think the block and the engine itself is sound, but they just have trouble with this DEF fluid and all the emission stuff. But in fairness, everyone's having trouble with it.
Have you drove a Cascadia?
No, I have not driven a Cascadia. I understand they're actually fairly nice. I haven't driven one. I'd like to, but no, I haven't yet. But apparently they ride well, they turn well, fairly quiet, less plastic than there used to be. Guys are liking them. I even like the look of them. The new grill treatment, I like the new Cascadias.
Do you remember when Canada made trucks? Pacific, Scott, Hayes?
Though, do I remember when Canada made trucks? They made Kenworths here in Montreal, but they made logging trucks on the west coast, like the Hayes, for instance, big rugged suckers that were built especially for logging. Those were amazing trucks, and those trucks are still working out there for the most part. Guys just keep fixing them and rebuilding them, and they just refuse to die. But they were built specifically for logging, but amazing tough trucks. Craig Beats, what do I think about deleting the emissions? If it was my truck, I would. I'd stay out of California, but I would delete the emissions and try not to get caught. Avoid the scales and stuff, and then you probably have to put it all back together if you live in a state or province that runs emissions tests like Ontario. But yeah, otherwise, get rid of them. The truck will run better. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but that's my advice. Kelly Patterson, I'm begging out of the stream, Myrtle Point, Oregon. Good night, Kelly. Have a good rest. God knows you probably earned it. So, do I know anything about hotshot drivers, Louis? Yeah, a lot of hotshot drivers don't know a whole lot about trucking. They get a dually pickup truck and a trailer of unknown length. Most of them don't know how to secure a load on it. They don't know what kind of weight they're allowed. So, yeah, I know enough to know that they don't know very much. What about the international pro stars? Jim Trucker. Well, Jim, we may see an improvement there. International has struggled for a long time now because they made the wrong call on the SCR valves when they first came in for early emissions trucks. But now they've been bought out by Volkswagen. They finally settled that deal, and Volkswagen isn't going to let an investment like that just die on the table. You can bet Volkswagen will get those international trucks working and working well.
Doc Dewey, thank you very much for the $20 donation, my friend. Hope you're enjoying the stream thus far. Dave, how much do you want for your 2004 I Hate Being Governed at 68 with an auto Cascadia that he drives now? I assume he meant to say is a complete pile of doo-doo, and he has to drive one every day.
Well, Doc, I'll take 60 for it right now. I'll take 60 for it. Come on up and I'll pass you the keys.
Offers good to late 30s.
Yeah. Kathy doesn't want me to sell the truck. Just stay away from international. One breakdown after another over it broke down every day of a 400-mile trip, and got a transmission broke. The clutch was the issue. Ahmed didn't like them. Didn't have a good experience with the internationals. Guys are still passing the smog test with deleted emissions, so this is a huge money grab. Craig Beats, is that right? You know, I could almost believe that too. And I don't think the research has shown that they're a particularly effective system. The DEF fluid does nothing to alleviate the emissions issue, and you're burning twice as much fuel in these emissions-friendly trucks. So are you really solving anything? You're burning twice as much fuel. You're putting twice as much up the stack. The DEF is supposed to wet it down. They're not secure on the science as to whether or not it actually works. I think the whole thing's goofy. You know, I've said this before, they can regulate the things to run on chicken soup, or if they want. It doesn't mean the engineers and the mechanics can make it work, though. Daniel, is that 60 US or Canadian? I'll take 60 Canadian. That'll help you guys in the States. You got to come up and get it, though. I think ProStars have a great turning radius for tight turns. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they do maneuver well. That's the ProStars. Jim Trucker's talking about the ProStars. Yeah, they do have a nice turning cut.
Kyle Maurice, thank you very much for the $5 of generosity, my friend. Got any scary trucker stories for Halloween, Dave?
Well, not really, but I've seen some pretty scary characters in truck stops over the years. I'll say that, and it wasn't always just Halloween either. There's some awful sights out there.
Are you a fan of glider kits?
Yes, I am a fan of glider kits. If I was going back into it, that's route one for me. I would do a glider kit. I would rip the engine out of my present truck, rebuild it from stem to stern, and stick it in a brand new 389 glider, and that would be the way I'd go. And then take the 379 and start doing the body and the frame and everything on that. But yeah, a glider kit would be my first choice. Have I ever seen a truck driver get arrested? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. The Lettuce King will recognize this name, Scott Lumbers. I've seen Scott Lumbers get arrested. So there's someone that we both knew that got arrested. But yeah, yes, I have seen that.
There's one on YouTube that got arrested. The guy that stabbed the other guy.
Oh, what kind of a fruit ball system are those guys? I'd like to see you make more how-to videos, such as driving in nighttime, making turns, and pre-trip. Would you, Imran? We've done them all. Like, check our library. I think I've got a how-to video on just about everything there is to do.
We're doing remakes.
Do you know how many videos we have up now?
410.
Yeah, we've got 410 different videos up there. Isn't that amazing?
410. They're all the same.
No, they're not.
New Western Star.
Now, isn't Western Star owned by Volvo? I think that's the deal. So I guess my question is, how come they can't make the Volvo as good looking as the Western Star if it's if it's all the same company? I like the new Western Stars. I like the old Western Stars. Western Stars always made a good truck. God, I drove one in '79 that was just a beautiful thing. Right out of the factory in Kelowna when they were building them there then. Oh my God, it was a beautiful truck. Have I got a video on how people used to run 3 logs at once? No, I don't, Kelly, but the Lettuce King's going to make one here because he knows how to do that stuff. Or you can get a video of the Lettuce King throwing logbooks out of the window of the trucks.
Florida Trout 101. Hey, thank you very much for the $20 donation. Happy Halloween, Smart Trucking team. Thank you for all your great content. Well, thank you very much for the donation.
Oh, I made a mistake. These guys, the guys are correcting me here. Western Star is owned by Dilmer, same as Freightliner. Yes, thank you, Florida Trout. Appreciate it. Happy Halloween to you, sir.
Did you comment to Florida Trout?
I did. Yes, that's just what I finished doing. But yes, thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Helps us keep our equipment current.
How many logbooks did you run? 2 or 3?
I usually manage to get away with just the 2 because I rent Western US and there are large spaces out there with no scales. So it gave you time to be creative without having to get into the 3rd logbook. So no.
Back before they really
Yeah,
them.
this is back before they even paid any attention to them. But yeah, way back before anybody cared, usually we just ran a couple of logbooks.
Everyone did.
Yeah, and everyone did that. Everyone did that back then. Because it was a joke. It just, they weren't really serious about it. It was just something they would use to write you a ticket on. So, as long as we looked legal, that was good enough for them. And, we all had the common sense to sleep when we were tired. And that's just what we did. So we weren't wrecking trucks or any of that stupid stuff. We knew when we were done for the day. And we knew when to park it. And we wouldn't set alarm clocks or anything like that. We'd just wake up when we got up and we felt good, and then we'd go again. And there were no problems with that. And it was our judgment as to whether we were safe to go, not the ELD's call and saying, well, your 10 hours are up, you've got to go. I don't agree with that either. Because sometimes after 10 hours, if you haven't slept well or if you've been sick, you're not ready to go. And I have a problem with ELDs for that. The driver should make the call on when he's safe to go and when he's not. Nobody else. And that's what we did, and it worked for us for years.
Jeffro, the wannabe trucker, asks, do you have any advice on how to avoid the riots on the expressway? I don't want to end up like the tanker driver that recently got arrested for running through that riot.
Isn't that something? It's tough to know how to combat that because you never know when you're going to run into it. All I can do is say, keep track of the news and listen to what's going on. Run a CB radio so you can find out what's going on around you. Just keep your ear tuned to it. Stay out of the big cities like Philadelphia and places like that, Atlanta, that are experiencing the riots. Stay away from the big cities. Go for the more rural destinations and the out west destinations, but stay out of Oregon, like Portland's having trouble. Just, you know where the hot spots are. Just avoid them. I went to a trucker rodeo in Langley and was very impressed. There are guys who compete there, the best drivers in the business in Europe. Chris Carlson. I never saw one in Langley, but I went to one in Denver a long time ago, and it was impressive. Now, most of those trucks that were in the rodeo were like day cabs, so they were city guys, but they were backing up A trains, B trains, whatever. And those little city trucks are a lot easier to drive, but still, it was pretty impressive to watch. Some of those guys can really drive, and you get these guys that back up 100 times a day every day in their day cabs. You can bet some of those guys get pretty good at that after 30 years or so. So, yeah, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch.
Kelly Patterson coming in with a $20 donation. Thank you very much for that. Hope you're enjoying the stream thus far.
Kelly, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Chad, it's about that time of the evening where we start wrapping things up. We'll do about 5 more minutes of Q&A here, and then we'll wrap it up for this evening.
I just see a comment here. TJ Jones, the Bull of the Woods. Greetings from La Grande, Oregon. I paid a few tickets there in La Grande, I can tell you that. I'm well familiar with Oregon for paying fines.
Market influence, did you see that?
Dave, what
Should
are
I-
your thoughts on hauling beer? They load a trailer like a 40-footer.
Man, that's good money if you can get the gig. Yeah, hauling beer with a smaller trailer. You know who else hauls little trailers? Are those guys, Western, out of Colorado, Western Distributing, and they work for the mints and the breweries and stuff. And those guys have a lot of short trailers. You might want to check into those guys. But should I? Mark of Excellence wants to know: should I settle with a carrier that has a driver-facing camera for my first year on the job? Well, Mark, it's how comfortable you feel with it. I understand needing your first job, and is it something you're going to be comfortable with? That's a personal call. Some guys.
What do you mean?
Are you comfortable? Do you mind having the camera watch you all the time?
Let me.
I would, that would bother me. I would have a problem with that, but some guys don't have a problem with that. So it's kind of your call. I know a first year job and guy, you need the job, so you might have to put up with it. But overall, for your driving career, I wouldn't want them watching me. Just because they say they never look at the tape unless you're in an accident. We've all found out now that's not true. They spot check you all the time. So no, I do it for your first year if you have to. If you like the company, if you like everything else about the company, do it. But they're not my choice. No.
Do you think dump truck drivers should go home after their shift more often?
They do go home after their shift more often.
Do you think they should go home more often?
Dump truck drivers? Well, it depends on how many hours they've been out in the road. The dump truck driving I was doing, I started at 7 in the morning. I was generally home 6 every night, but we were just doing local stuff. So it depends on the type of dump work that you're doing. But everybody should try to get home as often as they possibly can. It's just easier on you. It's easier on your family. Well, I guess I should wrap it up. I want you guys to stay safe out there. I've enjoyed chatting with you again tonight.
Special thank you goes to our top donators this evening: Doc Dewey, Kyle Maurice, Florida Trout 101, and Kelly Patterson. Special thank you goes out to those people. And a special thank you goes out to the chat this evening, everyone who showed up and tuned in for our Halloween live stream. We hope you enjoyed. And Dave will let you sign it off from there.
Yep. Stay safe. Keep the rubber side down. You'll never see me in a cowboy hat again, but I will see you on the back haul. Take care, everybody. Good night.